all of those areas were alarming. And it does take me to the trenches, Bo. I mean, you talk about getting physically whipped. I still don't know if Caden Proctor has blocked anybody. I mean, you got to be absolutely kidding me to get manhandled like that up front. But you know what it is? It's a lack of respect for your opponent. Because you come into a game like that, you've got a team that's 2-10, you've got the quarterback that's talking smack in the offseason, and your whole mindset is these guys aren't any good. You know, we'll just go out there, put our pants on, put our shoulder pads on, our helmet, and we'll beat up on them. And to see just the lack of energy and urgency in Alabama's football team, and then you're on the road, and then the worse it got in terms of Florida State's crowd getting behind them, Florida State starting to kind of get into rhythm, Alabama didn't answer. There was no pride. There was no step up and put a stop to this right now. We've got better players than you do. I didn't see any of that, and that is disturbing. And that being said, and I say this as a blanket statement across college football, I'm always very, very cautious to make definitive declarations about what a team is going to be off of week one. This isn't the NFL. You don't have a 4 or 5 week training camp. You don't have 3 or 4 preseason games. You go out there the first time. It's live and it's real, and so is the result. So let's wait and see and make some judgments on teams after we see a larger sample size. But that was, if you're an Alabama fan, that was embarrassing and unacceptable.
Yeah, so we know that Kalen DeBoer can coach. He's won everywhere.
Sure he can.
Ryan Grubb can coach. While Womack I don't think is special yet, I think Kane has all kinds of skills and talent, and he's proven that he's been at least pretty damn good to date. So how is there that big of a disconnect? I get following Saban also at the wrong time during this massive disruption and all that, but they still have players. I know they had some people leave, but they still have players, right?
Dude, their secondary and their front, even though Tim Keenan wasn't playing in the center of the defense, everybody else, for the most part, was a fairly prominent starter or saw significant time last year on defense. And so, yeah, there's no excuses for that talent-wise. What I think the biggest problem is that there's a distinct difference in philosophical approach when it comes to intensity, accountability, the little things being paid attention to, which were all just staples and hallmarks of Nick Saban's program, meaning that if there were certain things that were non-negotiable that you were not doing on a minute-by-minute, hour-by-hour, day-by-day basis, that was not going to be tolerated. I think it's gotten too easy there. And listen, you can coach teams different ways. You can have different approaches. But I don't know if you can go from what Nick Saban and how that staff dealt with their team to how what it looks like now this coaching staff is dealing with this team and expect the same results regardless of what the talent level is.
Oh. And here's the thing. As much as he can coach and others, once you get off the tracks at a place like Bama, it's hard to get back on, Luke's. Sometimes, rare that this happens once you can't get it going in, by year 2, wherever you are, but definitely at Alabama.
Well, yeah. And listen, you always hear that phrase, don't follow a legend, follow the guy that followed the legend.
Right.
And my response to that is, well, somebody has to take the job. Somebody has to actually take the reins and attempt to do it, whether that was Kalen DeBoer or 10 other people that could have been available.
Right.
But the reality is he was chosen, he accepted the job, and now you've got to reap the ramifications of that. And is it almost an impossible task? Yeah, it probably is. But this is a results-oriented business. And it doesn't matter if you're at Alabama or if you're at Kansas or you're at the University of Arizona or what have you. The only difference is at Alabama, what previously took place over 17 years doesn't just dissipate into the ether.
Right. Right. All right. And they've got Georgia coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
All right, LSU. So redemption, I guess, whatever. Brian Kelly, they played really well. Nussmeier looked really good. That defense. Talk about their defense and how difficult they made it for Klubnik and crew. Luke's?
Well, I thought that this second-year defense under Blake Baker, they've gotten through the transition year. They've gotten past getting to know one another, trying to figure out who they are, what they have. And I think there were a lot of growing pains with that a year ago, maybe more than there should have been. And then now you go into this season, you're in year 2, there's familiarity, there's understanding, you know what's expected, you know what the coach wants. The players now are familiar with what's being asked of them. They revamped the defensive secondary through the transfer portal, and they improved significantly up front. I'm watching that game, and I felt like I was watching Cade Klubnik in 2023. Hesitant, lack of anticipation, a lack of decisiveness, wouldn't pull the trigger, and then to cap it off, Clemson could not run the ball at all. And the moment LSU, smelt that blood in the water, that was when things got really difficult for Clemson because they had nothing else to rely upon. And so I was impressed with LSU defensively, but I want to go back to what you said. Garrett Nussmeier, man.
Wow.
That guy is a dude.
Woo.
I don't care who we're talking about in terms of NFL draft order or who would be taken where, but there is no comparison between Garrett Nussmeier and Cade Klubnik.
Man, he made so many clutch plays, and you felt like he had command of the offense, getting everybody where they, needed to be, and was able to read what Clemson wanted to do. He was really popping. And now look, they got Florida in 2 weeks, and Ole Miss in 4, so it's going to get wild for them. Lugs is going to join us for 10 more minutes on the other side. Then he's got to do some TV. Tom Luginbill, national college football analyst with ESPN. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. Morning Drive is driven by your next GMC Sierra truck at Fowler GMC. Pearl Brandon. Your SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Go local, go with the home team, as Jake Mangum likes to tell us, playing for the Tampa Bay Rays. Shout out to Mangum. And you can find a Farm Bureau Insurance agent in any of the 82 counties in the state of Mississippi. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. ESPN's Tom Luganville joins us right here on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. We hit a little bit of Bama and Florida State. Love that. LSU and Clemson, monster win for Brian Kelly and LSU. And real quick, Luke's, I want to go back to Florida State and Tommy Castellanos. This dude's been at Boston College in Central Florida, and he kind of balled out on Saturday with some really big plays for Florida State. I was impressed. What'd you see?
Well, I thought the marriage between Gus Malzahn and Tommy Castellanos in terms of scheme and skill set.
Did we lose him?
You there?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, good. You got me now?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. I thought the marriage between Gus Malzahn's scheme and Thomas Castellanos' skill set was a match made in heaven.
Okay.
And if you look at the history of Gus Malzahn's offenses, they're always at their best when the quarterback is a dynamic runner. Obviously, he's got history with him. He recruited him to UCF. He knows what he brings to the table. I thought Gus Malzahn put on a master class of deception, window dressing, shifts, motions. They had every wrinkle in the offense, end around, reverses, jet sweeps, and just enough in the passing game that came off of all of that to create a couple explosives. They weren't great in the passing game, but the ones that they made, the plays they made, were big gainers.
Yeah.
They made big differences in the game. And then what happened is Gus Malzahn, probably without knowing this was going to happen, certainly didn't anticipate it, was able to utilize Alabama's lack of effort and lack of awareness of what was happening against them. And so basically all of the movement and all of the different things that create eye violations and false steps became over magnified because Alabama wasn't dialed in. And then it just got worse and worse and worse. And you got to credit Florida State, man. They were hungry. They had a chip on their shoulder. And they executed to a level that a lot of teams don't execute to in week one. That's why, like, you know, when you look at the weekend as a whole, right? And I talk about not having preseason games, not having live games, not having the ability to go against other people. The only game we watched this weekend, this is in my opinion, where two teams looked like they'd already played 2 to 3 games was Miami and Notre Dame.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
And maybe Florida State.
Yeah. Yeah. So Florida State, huge win. Their path, I mean, look, man, Florida State and Miami and Clemson are in a conference where the path of least, even Clemson losing, but with Miami winning and Florida State winning, I'm looking at their schedule. The path of least resistance is there, Luke's, for them. All three.
It is. It is. Now, again, like we talked about when we first came on air, there's a lot of football to be played, right? We can't project injuries. Nobody has a crystal ball. I also think, though, for Florida State, when you look across the league in the ACC, the quarterback play is really good, right? You've got
Haynes King.
Good
grief.
Haynes King, Carson Beck, C.J. Bailey at NC State. I even think Stephen Angeli's got a chance at Syracuse to be pretty good. That kid hung in there
against Tennessee
the other day really nicely. Chandler Morris means a world of difference to Virginia. They hammered Coastal Carolina the other day. So, you know, if Thomas Castellanos can stay on schedule, and that's the thing about him, and I've broadcasted 4 of his games, and this is something that I'm waiting to see if it materializes. When he's at his best, he is a handful. But when things haven't gone well for him, he hasn't responded overly well.
Okay.
So what happens if you have a bad series, you have a bad half, maybe you lose a game? He's had a history of when things don't go well, he hasn't risen to the occasion and gotten back on track. And I'm not saying that he's going to not do that or do that this fall. I'm just telling you what the history has been.
All right. I love that. Tom Luganbill on the Out of Bounds Show. We're going to switch gears and jump to week 2 because we've only got Lugs for a couple more minutes. Arizona State at Mississippi State. This is a big one for Jeff Lebby and the program. I think they've got a chance to win, but Arizona State's about a 6.5, 7-point favorite. Sam Leavitt, future NFL QB, Jordan Tyson, good grief. But they didn't run the ball. Leavitt led them in rushing against a 1AA team, so they don't have Scattaboo, who's with the New York Giants. I think Mississippi State can win this game. We'll see what plays out with what they did in the line of scrimmage in the portal. Handicap this one a little bit for me, Luke.
Well, I agree with you. I actually watched the Arizona State Northern Arizona game late. I was just getting out of studio, and in many facets, Northern Arizona caused them a lot of problems. Now, listen, that could be you're going into game 1, you're playing an FCS opponent, you're not as dialed in. We saw a lot of that this past week.
Right.
But I don't think there's any question that this matchup being in Starkville it's a different model. It's a different animal now. And you're past the transition year of year 1, having to go out to Tempe. Well, now it's the other way around. And on top of it, ASU's not sneaking up on anybody anymore. Arizona State's a little bit like SMU in my mind.
That's true.
They're good, they're talented, but everybody knows it. So now everybody's taking them seriously. That wasn't the case for each program last year.
Right. No, I mean, Mississippi State is going to be locked in, this year because of them coming off the college football playoff. And ranked number 1, and Dillingham's a ton of fun as far as all his audio cuts and all this kind of stuff. And Leavitt and Tyson are ballers. I mean, Tyson's supposed to be top 4 receiver taken in the draft behind.
Oh, yeah. He's a dude.
Okay.
No question. That quarterback's a handful, though.
Okay.
He's a really good player. Sam Leavitt is a problem.
Yeah, he's just a baller. I mean, good.
Yep.
All right. We'll see what Coleman Hutzler and Mike McIntyre and Paul Rhodes can do with Leavitt and Tyson. All right, one more. Ole Miss. I remember talking to you last year. Ole Miss at Kentucky. I mean, Ole Miss was a 17.5-point favorite last year. I still can't believe they lost considering how good Kiffin and Golding are in that senior class. But they're going to Kentucky. Zach Calzada averaged like 3.2 yards per completion. But Brad White on the defensive side of the football could muck things up for a young Austin Simmons. So this may be closer than people think. How do you see it, Luke?
Well, and you're playing on the road, and don't kid yourself. That Kentucky team played a Toledo team that is really good.
Yeah, Candle's good.
Toledo's a good football team, and I think at one point it was either 17-0 or 24-0. Kentucky. At one point it was getting out of hand, and then it slowed down, and Toledo crept back in it a little bit. So Kentucky actually got to play a pretty formidable opponent in week 1. And then they get to host Ole Miss this time. So does Ole Miss have better players? Does Ole Miss probably have the better nucleus of identity of who they are? Yes, they've got a little more stability, I would say. But I would not, off of last year, obviously Ole Miss is going to be ready to play, Bo. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. And they have an advantage at quarterback. I think Zach Calzada is a serviceable guy. He's been a journeyman. He's made some plays when he's played. But we've talked about Austin Simmons, and I think at the end of the day, he's the better player at the position.
Yeah, no question. So Brad White, defensive coordinator, who is fantastic. He's the best thing on the Stoop staff against Kiffin and a young Austin Simmons, who is insanely talented, but hasn't, started a road game in the SEC. This could be a hell of a matchup. All right.
Oh yeah.
Game balls. Garrett Nussmeier, Carson Beck,
Haynes King.
Yeah. Oh, Haynes King. You and I were texting on Friday. I know you were running around trying to get back to Bristol. That kid, what's crazy? He looks like he'll take a hit and look like he tore his ACL, and then he'll ball out on you the next play, Luke.
I know. I know. By the way, did you notice at the end of that game, that Colorado had the ball with 1:20 to go.
Yep.
So they had the ball last, 2 timeouts, and go into the locker room with both timeouts.
What are they doing?
I have no idea, and nobody's talking about it.
I don't.
Why is nobody talking about it?
I don't understand what Pat Shurmur and Prime were doing, taking 2 timeouts to the locker room that you can't do anything with. I mean, they didn't trade them for $100K. What are we doing?
No, I know it. They don't get 4. They don't get 5 timeouts this week.
All right, my man. Have a great week. We appreciate you working with us again. Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk to you next Monday.
Hi, bud. Tom Luganbill, national college football analyst with ESPN. He joined us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. Bundle your auto and home. Competitive rates, save for your family. Farm Bureau Insurance. Go local, go with the home team. As our man Jake Mangum likes to tell us, and shout out to the Tampa Bay Rays. Lugs was good. So let's go back. I know Mississippi State and Ole Miss have 2 big games this week. We go from Mississippi State's game was big because Levy couldn't afford to go down there and lose. You had to avoid disaster to a team that was fired up to play you and so on, and give Levy credit. Y'all may want to tape this. Give Hutzler credit. Give, the players, all that. Other than falling asleep in the second quarter, they did what they were supposed to do, and they came out of halftime and absolutely dominated the third quarter. And then they kind of went to sleep in the fourth, whatever. But my only complaint, look, it was a solid performance. I'm not going to go overboard. It wasn't, and it's fine. It's week 1. Most people, Austin Simmons threw 2 picks and could have thrown a third easily. So you're going to struggle a little bit, try to figure out game speed. You can't do that in the preseason. Now you only do 2 scrimmages, all that. But you go down to Southern Miss and you win. I did like Levy's post-game, deal. And so we've got 2 big games. One here in state, Mississippi State against Arizona State at home. You're going to have a big, large crowd at night, 6:30. People are going to be excited, as they should be. You should be excited right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a sports fan.
You're undefeated.
And if you were on the fence of going, you need to go. Yeah. It's going to be, under the lights, LEDs, the student section is going to be packed. It's going to be a ton of fun. You need to go. Look, if they lose and they don't play well, you can go to the hunting camp, the farm, the beach, and all that later in the year. But you need to go, raise some hell, have fun, and all that. And look, you got 2 NFL guys coming in, Sam Levitt, Jordan Tyson. I mean, these guys can ball. Now, one takeaway from Arizona State, Luke's mentioned, Northern Arizona gave them a hard time at times, was that Sam Levitt led Arizona State in rushing. So there is no Cam Scatteraboo. He's with the New York Giants. And you do have a couple of NFL players on the offensive side of the football. They've got an edge rusher that's filthy. But you've got much, much, much better players than last year. You look different. So give Votler, Levy, and others credit. You spent a fortune, as Charles Huff mentioned in his postgame, the Southern Miss coach. Hey, they spent $15 million. They should get a return on their investment. And he's right. You should. And that's why you should demand, that this program start winning.
Right.
Everybody can win now. We saw that last weekend. Mississippi State people were brainwashed that they couldn't win in this new era. Absolute stupidity. Walk away from people that say that. Laugh at them. Anybody can win now. It was more than obvious over the weekend. Yeah. The disruptions here, it's going to continue to be. All you need is 6 to 8 players. You don't. When people say you need 18 or 24, it's nonsense. So you can win. Now, I've still got some concerns on Blake Shapen. You've got to run the football. I think Levy looked at it and said, we don't have to run the football today with Blake. Great. Because you started off, you did what you wanted to do in the game. You scored, all good. But to get where you want to go, to win another 4 or 5 games over this long marathon where we want all the answers today after week 1, but to get where you want to go, you're going to have to run the ball from the quarterback position. At Ole Miss and Mississippi State and South Carolina, but you know what? I think I'd argue anywhere this day and age. Bama, Georgia, LSU, you have to have mobility. The day and age of being a statue in the pocket is, for the most part, over. But you didn't have to run Blake last weekend. Now, some people say, well, they're just going to run with Camario and Cromenhawk. I don't believe that recipe is totally going to. I think that will work to a certain extent. And I hate that Camario's good play got called back because you can't do 14 penalties for 119 yards this week and beat Arizona State. But Arizona State dropped 12 penalties for 100 and something yards. So they played sloppy football too. And that's with a veteran QB. Well, so is Shapen. But he did miss a bunch of time last year. My point in all of that is you're going to have to run the football and play 11 on 11 like Ole Miss did with Dart and Corral, like Mississippi State did with Fitz and Dak and Chris Relf. And we could, Bo Wallace ran, Chad Kelly ran, all these guys. The threat, whether it's the threat to run or actually going and getting 8 yards, whatever. But Blake is going to have to run the football. I mean, this crew decided they wanted to run. They could have gone and gotten a player that was, bigger, maybe not quite as refined throwing, but can run the ball really well. They decided to go with the, a guy who's been hurt 3 times now. But Blake is going to have to run the football starting this weekend for you to win. I may be wrong. You can tell me I'm wrong on Twitter if they win without him running on Saturday night. Yes, Camario can run. I thought Cromenhawk's run was something you haven't seen in a while because, Will couldn't run. You played with a quarterback for years that could just, throw it from the pocket. And because of the air raid and Leach, that could work a little bit. But it's not going to work with anybody else. So you have to run the football. And I do think that Kentucky and Brad White will scheme it up on Austin Simmons to see if he can throw some more picks. Because if that team would have been any good that Ole Miss played the other night, that could have been tighter for a longer period of time. Because, again, he threw 2, but he could have thrown more. So these are things that, hey, week 1, you got 6. I mean, starting yesterday, you got some practices to work into and get ready and get going. My takeaway for the week is I love the Power 4 games. You don't want your team to be in it.
Right.
Okay, like, for me and Jackson and you listening, I loved Friday Night Football. I loved watching. Both those games were good. Auburn at Baylor and Georgia Tech and Colorado were delicious. Then the next morning you get the whole Corso thing. Yeah. And I got emotional. I was like, that's not stuff that I get into. And I got emotional, just because Corso is such a big part of our lives on Saturday mornings for years.
Staple.
Yeah, it was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then you had Southern Miss and Mississippi State and Ohio State and Texas, and Arch Manning didn't play well, and he'll bounce back. And the memes over the weekend were epic and all that. But for State and Ole Miss, it gets real this weekend. At Kentucky, even though Ole Miss is better, it still gets real. And Mississippi State, what an opportunity for Levy and Selman, because they need a big win in football beyond bad. Do you have Dillingham? All right, so Kenny Dillingham dropped in his press. He's the head coach at Arizona State, for our listeners. And Kenny Dillingham dropped that Arizona State has to stay an hour away from Starkville. This is what he said yesterday.
So interesting is now that we play in a lot smaller towns, we play further away from stadiums, our road games. So we stay about an hour and 15 minutes away from the stadium this week because that's the nearest hotel that's not a casino. To stay at. No, it's the truth. That's some teams stay at the casino. That wasn't even a joke. But it's just the nearest hotel. And then you talk, some guys are finicky eaters. So it's like some guys at these hotels, they don't like the food. It's not good. So now we get like sandwiches on the side. Texas Tech, we played last year, and our guys got sick the day of the game. We had about 10 guys that stomachs, they were getting IVs because their stomachs were sick from the food. I've never even said that, but it's just you're learning and growing along the way. So now it's like, okay, we need the food we get, and then if a player who's a finicky eater, we also need like a sub sandwich or a hamburger or something that they're comfortable with, because you're gone, the pregame meal and then the night meal, if they don't go that amount of time with a good meal. So that's something that I learned, when you're going to like Seattle, right? The food, their food's unbelievable, but some of the smaller towns, it's harder to, feed 160 guys. So we're just trying to adapt.
Okay. So there's 25,000 people on the campus at Mississippi State. There's 2 hotels that look straight into Davis Wade Stadium. The food in the Sun Belt, we are the food show in the SEC and have been since 2003. Whether you want street tacos and wings from Two Brothers, or unbelievable burgers from Bulldog Burger, or how many wood-fired pizzas do you want from Taste, or how many fillets do you want from Restaurant Tyler, and I could go on and on. It is the economic development engine for the state of Mississippi. Over $10 billion in economic development's gone into the Golden Triangle. There's massive engineering conferences and symposiums and so on a weekly basis. My buddy Craig Fant, my buddy Eric Hallberg, our guy Barton Dinkins have fed 300, 400, 500 people in their sleep. In fact, they've all fed the football team many a times because the director of ops rotates through restaurants and so on. So Kenny, I love you. And I know you're coming off a college football playoff berth at Arizona State. And I'm as shocked as you were, but there is good food in every SEC town. And then if you go into rural Sun Belt, there's good food everywhere, from fried catfish to po' boys to amazing burgers to French dips. Check yourself. Good Lord. I assume you're staying in Tupelo, which is where a lot of the teams that Mississippi State and Ole Miss play stay. It's a whopping hour down the road. It's 4-lane, Kenny. You'll be fine. You'll load up on the 3 buses. You'll be there in 60 minutes. Yes, you should have stayed at Pearl River Resort like Arizona did a couple of years ago, because they've got all the space. The reason why they did that is because Pearl River Resort has all the space for you to do the walkthroughs. The reason why you didn't want to stay at the Hilton, even though it's nice in Starkville, is because it doesn't have gigantic rooms for you to go over your offensive and defensive sets. You can do it in the parking lot. Mullen did it for years until they built the Marriott, which is overlooking the stadium, which is even nicer. Okay? But you should have stayed at Pearl River Resort and had Mom and M's, okay, and from burgers to fried okra to amazing, French dips and everything in between. Arizona did, you didn't, you missed, and they got all that. The reason why Arizona stayed there at Pearl River Resort is because they could spread their team out. I mean, what do they have, 700 hotel rooms? What are we doing? We're live in the Bank Plus studio. Steve Robertson coming up next. We'll take a look at the Southern Miss game, and coming up this weekend, it is a big one for Jeff Levy and Zach Selman. Coleman Hutzler, Blake Shapen. You host the Arizona State Sun Devils. Somebody get them some street tacos and wings.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
This is Sound Warning.
Live in the studio. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9. All set? Let's go. The Zone.
Good morning. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by the Amazing Steaks and Atmosphere. KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. Steve Robertson joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Steve, I don't know if you caught the audio from Kenny Dillingham about Arizona State having to stay an hour away, and I don't really care. But I assume they're staying in Tupelo, and Ole Miss teams stay there, Mississippi State teams stay there, and so on. But will you let him know that you can get like fillets medium rare and redfish and street tacos and and calamari and all kinds of good things in Starkville as far as the culinary scene?
Well, no, I'm not going to, because I don't want to have to wait for a table. You know, I don't want all of them coming in and, you know. I mean, yeah, we want to spend some money here. A lot of this is much ado about nothing, to be quite honest with you, because kind of as you mentioned, I mean, you know, we've had several teams that have stayed in Philadelphia at the casino.
Sure.
For years, teams have stayed at either Columbus or Tupelo, and, you know, and the truth of the matter is, and I transcribed that press conference yesterday, he wasn't trying to make a joke, and I don't think it was a shot at Starkville, as some people have kind of made it out to be. But, hey, you know, whatever fires up the fan base and gets them to Davis Wade Stadium on Saturday is perfectly fine with me. So if everybody showed up, you know, and, you know.
Well, they need.
That's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. They need they need at least 55,000, you know, in the stadium, raising hell for a night game with a ranked team and the LEDs and all that. This is such a big game for Levy and Selman. Because this thing's teetering, and you got to find a way to rack up some wins. So let's go down to Southern Miss first. You were there. You've been writing about it, posting about it all weekend. We'll start with the good. What's your one big takeaway from the game, 34-17, Dogs beats Southern Miss?
When Mississippi State wanted the game to be over, the game was over. In the third quarter, State played probably the best quarter of football they have played in the Jeff Levy era on both sides of the ball. 3 straight drives with touchdowns, and defensively they were outstanding. You know, get the 3 and out, then get the pick. And when State decided it was time to put separation between themselves and the Golden Eagles, Levy and the staff were able to hit the gas pedal and do exactly that. And I think that's the most encouraging part of the weekend, is that, you know, rather than just kind of let those guys hang around and get out of there with an ugly win, you know, State went in and took care of business.
Mm-hmm. Steve Robertson, genespage.com, 247 Sports, Boneyard Podcast. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. The defense looked bigger, faster, stronger. But when you looked at it, what did you see and you went, okay, I like what I'm watching here?
The corners. And I like the fact that they were tested early. I mean, you knew Southern Miss would come out and try to take a shot to try to get some early momentum. And they went after Diego Brumfield and Kelly Jones in the first and second quarters. And both times, both guys had PBUs. And I think that's the one thing we talked about on defense that we were a little bit concerned about, was the corner room. And, you know, it's just 1 week. But, you know, Braylon Braxton's comments about Kelly Jones in postgame I thought were interesting. Like, he just kind of unprompted. He said, hey, number one, you know, is a dog. You know, going at him with his length and speed, it's kind of difficult. And I asked Blake Shapen about that as well, about, you know, what makes him. You're a guy that's, you know, thrown against him for a year now. What do you think? And he goes, yeah, typically when you see Kelly out there, you target somebody else. And we've always known that he has the physical skill. It's just a matter of kind of learning the position. But I thought the corners really held up well, and I think that bodes well kind of moving forward.
Okay. Offense. They did what they needed to do. Everybody knows, I guess most everybody knows, that a chunk of the offensive linemen transferred in after the spring. And you saw this all weekend. This wasn't just Mississippi State. Okay, bunch of teams trying to get their O-line, gelling and the chemistry. 14 penalties for 119 yards, and Arizona State was penalized at a high level too over the weekend, but you got to clean that up. Do you feel like they're going to be able to take out the pre-snap, the alignment penalties in 1 week?
Yeah, I think so, because that's about you, right? I mean, it's a very correctable issue, and Steen won't play this week, and so it kind of makes you wonder how they'll construct this offensive line. Luke Work didn't play last week. I was told he could have, and had it been an SEC opponent, he probably would have. Does he play this week? And where do you kind of move people around to accommodate him? But you mentioned the Arizona State thing, and I think they set a high team high in the Dillingham era with penalties, and a couple of those were huge. It was a holding call on a screen play that negated the touchdown. They had another big passing play that was called back due to an eligible downfield, and so they've had some of the same issues. It's not just germane to Mississippi State, and I think that's going to be a big factor. I do think it'll be a close ball game, and the team that probably cleans up so much of that operational stuff is going to have the advantage.
Yeah. All right, so you got two NFL guys, Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson. And so you got Hutzler, McIntyre, and Rhodes. This. Levitt led them in rushing, so there is no Scattaboo. And so Levitt had to carry the load, their quarterback, running the football. What did that say to you, Steve?
Well, Northern Arizona came out and ran some bear front and, some five with some overhang and, kind of dared them to throw the football. And if you watch that game, there were some times they were able to kind of break containment and get chunk plays. But it was a very unorthodox defense, so there's not going to be a lot of carryover in their preparation. But I thought Nick Mitchell said it best yesterday. We've talked to Nick a lot in the last week or so, but Levitt's biggest plays are broken plays, and that's kind of what you saw with that Northern Arizona game. You go back to last year's game against Mississippi State. Kelly Jones loses outside contain on a drive where Arizona State's in plus territory, but you got a chance to get off the field. You lose contain and it gets outside, and all due respect to Braylon Braxton, who I think is going to be a really good quarterback at Southern Miss, especially in the Sun Belt. But Sam Levitt would lap him in a foot race. I mean, Sam Levitt is an incredible runner. And against Northern Arizona, there was a play on 3rd and 4. They had 3 consecutive 3-and-outs and kind of bogged down, and he just kind of puts it on his shoulders. They vacate the middle. He takes off and runs like 50 yards for a touchdown, and nobody could catch him. I mean, that's the danger with him. And I'd say a good player comp is Bo Nix. When you think about what Bo Nix was, getting him on the ground is a real chore. Because he is so, evasive in the pocket. But when he decides to go, he's not sliding. He's not just going to run for 5 yards and get down and get back to the huddle. He's trying to score. He's an elite athlete. And that's one of the things this week I think where State really has to be careful is containing him and not letting him improvise.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So you containing Levitt with more talent on the defensive side of the football. And then on the offense, I've only got a minute, Steve. I would have to believe the offensive line working out some of their kinks. And with that running back group, you want to be able to run the football all night in Starkville to open up other things.
And I thought the running back room was as advertised. And they spread the workload around a little bit, to kind of save some wear and tear. And so I think you're in good shape there, and I think you saw what Mississippi State can be with that running game, and you probably need to do a lot more of that this week.
Okay, I got about a minute. Anything else that as far as going into week 2, other than this is a massive game for them?
Well, special teams, and I think in close games that matters. But Arizona State put a lot of balls at or near the end zone on the kickoff, but so did Northern Arizona. I'm interested to see how much that ball carries off the Arizona State kicker speed in this humidity in the South. So that'll be an interesting dynamic. Are there plays to be made in the return game for Mississippi State? You hope so. But I think it's going to be an important aspect of this game. It may boil down to special teams.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
See ya.
GenesPage.com, 247 Sports. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. Mike Detillier at 8:30. Good morning. We're going to make sure to get some calamari, maybe a little fried ravioli, and bolognese to head football coach at Arizona State, Kenny Dillingham. We can line up food from Taste. What would he do with the Reuben from Older Brother Bistro? He wouldn't know what to do. What about that muffaletta from Older Brother Bistro? Now, the best wings in the SEC, Barton Dinkins, award-winning restaurateur, pitmaster. He owns Two Brothers and Older Brother. Get into those wings. Now, they posted some ribs last week. I don't think I've ever had ribs from Two Brothers. Shame on me. I've now knocked out ribs at Burgers Blues Barbecue, B3. They were amazing. On Tuesdays, Martin's in Livingston has ribs. That's their blue plate. Had those last week. I don't think I've had ribs from Two. No, we have out in the left field. Okay. Yeah. I haven't ordered them while I was there. We get the to-go trays, so he'll do the smoked chicken sliders, pulled pork, burgers, so on. And I have had ribs out in the left field lounge, but not there. We're gonna have to get Kenny Dilly some good food when he gets in. My man Eric Hallberg at Big E's can cook him some ribeyes, and we'll just load them up with wood-fired pizzas and bolognese and vodka rigatoni from Taste, and then wings and street tacos and ribs from Barton Dinkins and Two Brother and Older Brother. And I tell you, you just got to we got to order him like several dozen Reubens, and they can cut them up. They're so big so that his offensive linemen won't get sick, and they can be full, or whatever he was referencing with them getting sick at Texas Tech last week. But that was fun. That was some good audio that we can chew on and have fun with throughout the week. We're ESPN 105.9 The Zone, brought to you by Superior Foundation. French drains, foundation repairs, driveways. Superior Foundation, superior.ms. Jay Meadows, did you hit a 16 parlay?
Oh, it was a failure this week.
Oh, man, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it's all
Double
good.
up catch up.
That's all I got to do.
Week 2.
Just fire in a 32-teamer and I can get it all back.
I don't think there's any question.
This would have been a bad betting week for me had I been still in college the way we used to bet, which was
really?
Yeah, you take $100 parlay, but take all the favorites. Week 1 it usually works.
Right.
It's worked so many times in week 1, but this one, ouch, would not have worked.
Okay.
It's usually not this bad. No way.
Well, it's because of the portal and the disruption and, all that we talked about, even with Ole Miss and Mississippi State trying to get their feet under them early. But many other teams. I mean, look, Bama looked awful. And we're going to talk to Roll Tide Ryan Fowler at 9:30. Again, good grief. Effort, focus, discipline, execution, everything that we throw out in any sport, that's across the board, was horrendous. Bama fans, as somebody texted earlier, Bo, Bama fans' tears are delicious. Nobody's feeling sorry for Alabama after the 17-year run under Nick Saban. Not at all. I mean, especially Ole Miss or Mississippi State or anybody else. And Auburn may be coming for you, after beating Baylor. And Jackson Arnold didn't look comfortable playing from the pocket, but he crushed Baylor with his legs. So maybe he gets, his feet settled and play with his eyes downfield and things like that, and can go through, well, not even 2 progressions, 1 progression. Right. But they won. They went on the road. Baylor looked better than I thought they would physically. Auburn won. Great win. LSU. Did Brian Kelly need that dub or what? As much as Kalen DeBoer and Greg Byrne are puckered up this morning in Alabama, probably can't leave their house with all the Walmarters around. I mean, good grief. You're going to have security to get back and forth to the football facility and the athletic department building. Brian Kelly goes to Clemson. Do you know how hard that is? Period. But now in the portal era to play a big game week one, to go on the road against a veteran-laden team like Clemson that has been building, kind of like Ole Miss last year, but in a different way, that's been building for 3 years with heavy money, millions and millions, which is smart, into retention. And they are projected to have all these NFL picks and a veteran QB and Cade Klubnik in Clemson, and you get beat. And LSU's defense was really, really good, and Nussmeier was it was beautiful.
Man.
It was beautiful. Maybe he can overcome his OC, because those receivers and some other pieces that they have are super, super talented. But that was a big win. Big win for Auburn. Big win for LSU. Big win for Levy.
No doubt.
Look, you
He
had
needed
to avoid disaster. You go down there, you win handily. Could have been even worse, but you went all kinds of sideways in the second quarter. But third quarter, you dominated the football game. It was over. When at the beginning of the fourth quarter, the game was over. And now you get ready to play Arizona State. And a young Austin Simmons goes on the road against Kentucky. How much is Lane Kiffin going to lean on the running game? Because Kentucky's not good on offense, but they have a damn good defensive coordinator in Brad White. Obviously, we know Stoops doesn't believe in scoring, but they've been able to play some D over the years. You definitely digress as a quarterback in the Kentucky football program. What else? Carson Beck. He caught hell last year. Things didn't go well. He played well. So give him credit. Okay. Notre Dame had a new QB. Carson Beck's played a lot of football. You can kind of tell that. CJ Carr, Carson Beck in that Notre Dame Miami game. Bill Belichick absolutely got his doors blown off. I hope Lawrence Taylor, Michael Jordan, Roy Williams, and all the guys that they showed in the suite enjoyed that game last night.
Right.
North Carolina starts off 7-0 and gets beat 48-14.
Ugh.
That's a tough. Hey, they go to Charlotte this weekend.
They didn't win.
Charlotte hired a good coach.
Yeah.
Y'all, this should not happen. North Carolina should watch out.
Right.
Luganville has that game this weekend.
Really?
I said, Tom, if you're there with, he's already covered Belichick all summer because he did all the ACC network hits.
Right.
So he's already interviewed Belichick several times. It's like, dude, if they lose this weekend, holy Mary Olzap. I mean, damnations.
No way.
So, but we'll talk with Tillier coming up next. We'll discuss the LSU game. But Nussmeier and the LSU D looked really, really good. And LSU gets to take a break this week against La Tech, and then they play Florida at home. We got two good ones, though, this week. Ole Miss at Kentucky. It's big. They'll be locked in for this after sleepwalking through it last year and getting embarrassed. And then Mississippi State hosting Dilly Dilly. Sam Leavitt could be the number one quarterback drafted in the NFL draft next spring. And Jordan Tyson is considered the third best wide receiver in the country. Boy, he had some good numbers over the weekend, too. We're live in the Bank Plus studio, and Mike Detillier next. All right. Good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, brought to you by Sound and Communications. Now, who do you call to get your next video wall for your business, hospital, college, or high school, or arena, football stadium? They've done that all over the SEC. They just did a lot of the lighting and stuff for Mississippi State. SoundcomAV.com. They've done it for A&M and a number of Power 4 and G5 schools. If you need a video wall for your business or school, Sound and Communications, SoundcomAV.com. We welcome in our friend Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Mike D joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. And the LSU Tigers with a statement win on the road against a veteran-laden Clemson team. And damn, that LSU defense was awesome. And Nussmeier made play after play. Mike D, talk to me. How impressed were you with that LSU defense?
Very. Been waiting a long time to see that again. But, man, they were fast. They got to the football. They were physical. And, we've talked about this before. They got talent. They got talent depth on that defense. In the two spots that have not been there for many years, and that's along the defensive line and in the secondary. You saw it play after play. And Switch saw it in the fall during the practice sessions. Now, some of that, wondering if maybe who they were going against, because their offensive line, a lot of new pieces there, but that held up. Their offensive line held up against Clemson's front. That was the biggest surprise to me. Them to play better defense wasn't, but how well they played on defense for game one was a really huge surprise to me. And they finally didn't try to reinvent the wheel with Harold Perkins. And he came up big in that last play.
He did.
Man, when you saw his closing speed on Klubnik, because he was on one side of the field, and he came all the way across to put pressure on Klubnik. And, Cade's a really good athlete and a tremendous football player. But when he saw Harold, he had to get rid of that ball, and it was fast. There's one thing with Perkins, man, he can run. Coming off that knee surgery, he is unbelievable athlete.
Mike Detillier, LSU with the big win at Clemson. Brian Kelly needed it. The fan base needed it. Now they feel good. They play La Tech this weekend, and then they get ready for the Gators coming to Death Valley in 2 weeks. All right. And then 2 weeks after that, they go to Ole Miss. So this is pretty insane schedule for LSU, 3 of the first 5 games. All right. Mike D. Nussmeier looked like a veteran, got the offense in the sets and formations they needed to, read the defense. I just thought he played for week one almost flawless football, which is extremely difficult to do this day and age.
It's very poised. You can tell, the experience of been there. And I tell people all the time, that's nothing like experience when you play at this level. And, being able to talk to him a few times over the summer, he brought that out, that he really felt that last year gave him a jump and gave him the time to learn and what not to do and what to do very well. And even with a very young offensive line, never played together, that he made it work. And they got playmakers. And you saw it at wide receiver and tight end. And Trey Diaz, at a 6'7.5" tight end, joking with him at Manning, I was like, how can you overthrow him? He said, well, I have a few times. He just gave a smile about it. But, man, again, the biggest surprise was that for the most part, going up against a team that you potentially have 3 first-round pick defensive linemen,
Yeah.
Nussmeier got sacked once.
Yeah.
Only once. They held up. And, again, you saw the poise, his short, quick passing expertise really, really showed up against Clemson. They didn't try to go deep. They kept it short, and it really worked. But Garrett showed the poise of a veteran quarterback. And, you look across college football, and those are the guys, with the exception of Isaiah Simmons now. Give him a lot of credit. He made a couple of mistakes, but, man, he was impressive, too, at Ole Miss. For a guy who hadn't played a lot of football, you saw the zip in that football and his accuracy skills. Ole Miss got something there with him. We've been talking about him since I really got to see him work out at the Manning Passing Academy. He was so impressive to me. Such a smart young man, but physically gifted. And my buddy Deuce McAllister always says, I don't know why he's playing football the way he can throw a ball. He should stick to baseball. That was really something to see. But again, when you watch college football this week, the experienced quarterbacks, they got it because there is no preseason.
No.
Arch Manning found out, real quick.
Woo!
Hey, you don't get, the only way to get experience is to play, and he found out the hard way.
That was a tough opener. All right, let's go there. LSU with the big win. Brian Kelly needed it. They've got La Tech this weekend, and then they host Florida the next weekend in Baton Rouge. Arch Manning, I think he'll be fine, but it was a rough day, and it was somewhat embarrassing for Sark and Arch. Were you surprised that it looked that bad, Mike D?
Yeah, absolutely. But they got out-coached, and you could tell. Matt Patricia did a great job defensively and threw a lot of different looks at Arch. And that first pass, because I'm doing pregame for LSU, and I saw that first one bounce, and I'm like, Herb Tyler and I looked at one another, and he said, "You are right. Oh, it's one of those moments that you say, this might be a long day," but he never really set his feet and threw the ball on time. He was rushed on every pass, and everything was a little off with him. And I think he maybe felt the pressure of all this buildup. And listen, it can happen. And I agree with you. He's going to be okay. He's going to be fine with it. But goes to show you, man, Ohio State defensively, man, they got some people there. You think about how many teams in college football, they had 14 players drafted and 3 players signed as undrafted free agents. So 17 players off that roster. And look what they put out on that field. How impressive was that? And their defense really played well. Their offense is kind of a work in progress.
Sure.
But when you got a guy like Jeremiah Smith, he scared the bejesus out of you. And he didn't have his best day. He dropped a couple throws. But listen, Ohio State ain't going anywhere. They are a really good football team. And I'm anxious to watch this week Oklahoma, Michigan. Because in watching the games and sometimes it's who they play. But if you didn't come away after watching John Mateer throw the football in game 1, man, Michigan guys going to have their hands full with an Oklahoma team. And I've been saying this all summer. There's a team to watch in the SEC who isn't getting a lot of ink. It's the Sooners. They have finally pieced together a team that has got some talent on defense, and boy, you got a quarterback that can sling it. And John's smart. He's accurate. He's just a very poised guy under pressure. I watched him. He was at Washington State, and he was such an efficient guy. And this offense is built tailor-made for him at OU, and they got some playmakers. So I get it, that Michigan, they do have that reputation, and they got some talent. And their young quarterback Underwood played pretty well for game one for him as a true freshman. But John Mateer, you're going to be hearing his name a lot in college football. That young man can flat out sling it, and he's accurate.
Yeah, so Ole Miss plays at Oklahoma later in the year. And if Mateer...
that's going to be a good one.
That's something.
LSU, too, and it's late. It's late in the year, LSU.
Oh, yeah, last game of the year. Okay.
In Norman. And, they got shellacked last year. That was probably LSU's best defensive effort last year when they played Oklahoma. But they had Jackson Arnold at quarterback. Man, he looked lost against LSU for whatever reason. Because you can see Jackson's strength is his ability to run the football. And he had Baylor's defense totally confused. But, that surprised me because Auburn, I thought Baylor could do a few things defensively to stop Jackson. But, they looked terribly lost going up against a quarterback that you knew was going to run the ball, and they couldn't stop it.
No. I didn't all right, so we bounced to Auburn and Baylor real quick. I didn't think he looked comfortable playing from the pocket, but he hurt Baylor all night with his legs. So I'll be interested.
Never does.
Yeah.
He never does look comfortable. Last year he played Tulane early, and we have John Summerall on track today because it's Tulane Tuesday on WWL
Love
Radio.
it.
And John, felt he had a really good game plan going up against Jackson Arnold till he played him. And, man, Jackson was terrific running the football. He never looked comfortable. Bo, you put it exactly right. He's never comfortable in the pocket. You can tell he wants to get out of there almost as soon as he's in there.
Well, yeah, he doesn't give it a shot at all. So I just wonder, look, it worked Friday night, and I give him all the credit in the world. He made some great plays. But, Mike D., as you know, eventually some games you're going to have to be able to go through a progression or two and play from the pocket, right?
Yeah, because what they do, they're going to put you in the cup. Yeah. The old Chief, when he played Johnny Manziel, that was his deal. And because
John Chavis?
Man, Coach Chavis was, I'm putting him in the cup. And at first, he sort of confused me, but put him in the cup. He's like, he said, I'm going to cup him. I'm going to cup the sides, and I'm going to cup the middle, and I'm going to make him throw it. Because that was his deal, that Johnny is not going to beat me. If he beat me, he's got to beat me throwing from the pocket. And, man, the two games that Manziel played against LSU, he really struggled. I give Chief a lot of credit, man. John Chavis had him confused, and LSU had the athletes to do it, too, on those two teams. That they kind of did. It was Bobby would always call it a sugar rush. It's a half rush, and basically you stay in your lane and you make him throw it. And that was Chavis's deal against Manziel. But he would always tell me, man, if he beat me, he's going to beat me throwing it. He's not going to beat me running it. Because if he gets away, or as he would put it, he gets out of the cup, he gives me problems. And Manziel didn't do it against LSU. He had some great games against other teams, and I always wondered why other teams didn't steal what Chavis had done, because it worked in the two games that they played against Johnny. He really struggled throwing the football from the pocket. And what you bring up about Jackson Arnold, watch if other teams don't do the exact same thing.
Yeah. And you make a good point about that. Circling back a little bit for our listeners, Oklahoma hosts Michigan this week. So, as Mike D said, John Mateer from Washington State, who looked really good last weekend, maybe Venables, they brought Mateer's OC with him too. Maybe they can turn the corner. They fired 2 offensive coordinators last year. It's been pretty up and down. Levy's first year was not good. Second year was. Venables hasn't been able to get that thing revved up. We'll see if now with John Mateer, who looks like a little baller, can get it rolling. But Michigan at Oklahoma this weekend. All right, Mike D on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. It's Tulane Tuesday, and John Summerall wins again against Northwestern. And let them know when we want to wear our white jerseys for Katrina, then you should let us, or we're going to take you out to the woodshed. But I got to go.
John,
Go ahead.
John is something, man, and I've always told him this, and he just laughs. Tulane doesn't have superstars on the team. They got a superstar coach.
Yes, they do.
And I'm telling you, John Summerall is a superstar coach, and he is one of the wittiest guys on the air for a coach. He's quick-witted, and he would not name a starter last week, okay? And everybody knew it was Jake Retzloff, the former BYU quarterback. So he must have been listening before he came on, because I had Spencer Rattler come on. And so I asked him, I said, Coach, I'll give you the platform. Who's going to be the starting quarterback? And he said, well, I just heard him, Spencer Rattler. So, hey, man, he's quick-witted. He's funny with answers. He always tells you a nice little story about what's happening. And, he was getting on me because, I had knee replacement surgery, so I couldn't really move around real well for a while. And he was like, Mike, I let anybody at my practices. I even let Coach O come in, so why don't you stop by one day? And I get to tape the talk between the two of y'all. I was like, okay, Coach. But he was funny as hell.
All right, let's switch gears. Mike D obviously covers college football and the NFL. Out of New Orleans. He joins us on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. The show is brought to you by Superior Foundation for all your foundation repairs, superior.ms. Mike D, Alabama, Florida State. Give Florida State and Norvell big-time credit and that staff for what they were able to do after a disappointing, abysmal 2024. However, did you ever think that you would see Bama this lethargic and without the effort and execution that we're seeing?
Of all the things I saw this weekend, that was the shock to me. They were not physical. They didn't hustle to the football. Their offensive line, which was supposed to have been the strength of their team, sort of fell apart after one drive. A lot of people point the finger at Ty Simpson, but the defense stunk. I mean, Florida State looked like they were playing at a speed level twice the speed level that Alabama had. And I know that's not the case. They were out of position. It was a lot of guessing. And, the quarterback, he got the comment of all comments that, hey, Nick Saban ain't here to save y'all. And you would think, and he said that about 3 times in the offseason, you would think, you'd be a little bit motivated to go up against them. They got it taken to them. Ooh. I mean, Florida State took the belt off and spanked their butt, and they they left some marks. Of everything I saw this weekend, that was the shocker. And, again, going back to, Herb and I doing pregame, and it's the look on everyone's face as they watching the game about, is Alabama this bad? And I know they're not that bad. They got talent.
No.
But they seem lethargic all across the board. And my thing is, it's not just one thing. And I get for some people, it's overreaction in week one. Okay, and to a certain extent that's true, but you can't have this many things go wrong for you. And it was across the board. I laid out on Kalen DeBoer. His team didn't look like they were prepared
No.
to play Florida State.
I
They looked totally unprepared.
I was shocked. All right, let's see. We've still got a couple of minutes here. Game balls, Mike D. So I'm giving a game ball to LSU for sure. Everybody, Kelly, the defense, Nussmeier, all that. Help me. I'm giving a game ball to Carson Beck in Miami. Cristobal has been embarrassed as far as coaching on game days. He's a phenomenal recruiter, but they've had some slip ups. Huge win. And game balls to Florida State and Auburn. I mean, these are teams that played Power 4 to kick it off, Mike, and they did what they had to do. I'm impressed more than ever this day and age.
I am too, and a name you're going to hear a lot. And I watched him at Virginia Tech, and he came in here at LSU, and he basically, I mean, he's got some athletic arrogance about him. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't have any problem with that if you can play. Mansour Delane, cornerback at LSU. Since Derek Stingley left LSU, LSU has not had a corner as good as Delane. They threw at him 8 times. He had 4 knockdowns of a pass. He intercepted a pass. He gave up 1 reception against Clemson, against their top receiver. I'm just telling you, you're going to be hearing that name quite a bit. Mansour Delane.
Okay.
Bo, I'm just telling you, he is a cut above what you would see at corner. He's the best corner that's been at LSU since Stingley left. Ooh. And DJ Pickett, as a freshman, he was in on 26 plays. I think they threw at him 6 times, no receptions. I have never, this is 41 years for me, I've never seen a 6'4" corner in my life. Never. And he's as billed as a true freshman. I know he, because of the opponent, he didn't get a lot of ink. But, boy, I was impressed with Isaiah Simmons at Ole Miss.
Yeah, Austin Simmons was fantastic.
With Mr. Simmons. Really was.
I can't wait. That's 2:30 ABC this week at Kentucky. Hey, Mike D, you're the best. We'll talk next week, okay?
Thank you, buddy.
If you need a video wall, which they're really cool because they did one for us. If you need a video wall for your business, your school, Sound and Communications, locally owned, soundcomav.com, soundcomav.com.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
This is Now Warning.
Live in the studio. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9. All set? Let's go. The Zone.
All right, we'll do it. We'll give out some game balls. Good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. The show is brought to you by our friends at Fowler GMC. If you're looking for a pre-owned or new SUV or truck, including the GMC Sierra trucks and GMC Yukons, Fowler GMC, Pearl Brandon. Game balls this week brought to you by Juniker Jewelry Store. If you're in the market, you want to be a 5-star, you're in the market for an engagement ring or necklace, bracelet, earrings, Juniker Jewelry Store right here by us, Highland Colony in Madison. Juniker Jewelry Store, Highland Colony in Madison. Locally owned, they do a great job. Juniker. All right, game balls this week. All right, so we'll go Nussmeier and LSU. And Brian Kelly needed that because they haven't been happy with him in a while. Or maybe since he's been there. So we'll go one game ball for them LSU Tigers. Another game ball is for the Florida State Seminoles. That was incredible. What Norvell and Castellanos and that crew was able to do. And dominate Alabama and make them look silly. Yeah. And Bama fans, I don't know how many TVs were thrown out of trailer parks on Saturday, but I mean the over/under had to be a few thousand.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
And so I don't know how that's going to look, but when's Bama's next tough game?
Georgia.
Yeah, so they play La Monroe this weekend, and then they play Wisconsin. And then they take a week off. Ugh. And they play at Georgia. Goodness gracious. I mean, they still got to play.
Oh, yeah.
At Missouri, at South Carolina, at Auburn.
You're looking at 7-5.
Well, then they will buy him out at $70 million
gone.
Or 70-something million. Game ball, Carson Beck in Miami.
All day.
And Ohio State. And again, going back to Mario Cristobal, the head coach at Miami, he needed that.
Great win.
They've been embarrassed as far as their sideline coaching, their game day coaching, a couple of times. And Marcus Freeman's a hell of a coach at Notre Dame. And kudos to Miami. Also, one of the favorites in the state of Mississippi, Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, boy.
Auburn goes on the road, played a Power 5 team. I was surprised at how Baylor looked physically. I mean, if they can pull that off, how many other teams can even look much better than that? But Auburn goes to Baylor and wins. Georgia Tech, big win over Colorado.
Yeah.
Brent Key can coach. John Summerall beat Northwestern, let him know about it. And, I mean, Levy avoided disaster. It was a good win.
You're missing one, though.
TCU?
TSU, who I'm going with. Tarleton State takes down Army in 2 OTs.
Jeff Munkin. Todd
FCS.
Munkin's brother.
That's right.
Okay.
FCS school.
John Cohen almost hired Jeff Munkin. That was the Leach hire that he almost went with the service academy coach. He interviewed Jeff Munkin and Troy Calhoun.
Really?
Almost said Fisher to Barry, but he interviewed Jeff Munkin at Army and Troy Calhoun at the Air Force Academy.
Munkin's been there forever.
Been there for a minute.
11-ish, 10-ish.
Okay. Damn. Can't believe nobody. I guess the wishbone, I know that Troy Calhoun said that he would tweak his offense, and Jeff said he wouldn't. And then they moved to Joe Judge, and then Joe Judge took the Giants job, and then Leach became the coach. But anyway, Jeff's done a hell of a job. That's a big win by Tarleton or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
All right. So those are some game balls. Oh, South Carolina and Beamer beat Virginia Tech. How about that?
Hey.
Lenora Sellers made some good plays, and that's another one. Did I give Ohio State a game ball? I gave South Carolina. Man, week 1 Power 4 matchups, big.
Oh, yeah.
And then as much as Mississippi State struggled last year, again, they were better than Southern Miss everywhere, except maybe QB. But, they won, went down there, did what they need to do in the third quarter, and so on. Austin Simmons looked pretty damn good.
Yeah, did what he's supposed to.
62-7 or whatever it was. And now Ole Miss, this is weird, man. Ole Miss had 4 non-cons last year.
That was odd.
Where no games were, it was just a snooze fest for a month. 50 a game, winning by 40 a game, 50 a game, and now you go to Lexington.
Yeah, you're getting tested.
And look, Zach Calzada doesn't scare you, but just going on the road in the SEC, and Kentucky does have some players on D, and Brad White and Lane Kiffin went head-to-head last year, and Brad White won that battle. It wasn't Golding's fault. He did what he was supposed to do. I mean, I know Kentucky converted the 4th down late, but all day long, Golding and the D had done what they were supposed to do. Ole Miss only scored 17 points that day. So they'll be locked in. They won't overlook Kentucky like they did last year. But they go on the road early, real early, for an SEC test. Is Kentucky good? No, they're one of the bottom 3 teams in the league.
Sure.
Mississippi State, Kentucky, and Arkansas?
Yes.
And Vandy.
Vandy.
Okay. So, that group. But they're dangerous enough to they've got your attention.
Yeah, they were bottom 3 last year, too.
Yeah, they went 1-7. I mean, their only win was against Ole Miss, which is still unbelievable. And then we know about the big one in Starkville. They haven't had a big win in a while. And they host Arizona State.
Yeah, outside of a conference win, this is the biggest win of your year, right?
Yeah, you're going to have to win this and a conference game.
Right, yeah.
For everybody to hang around. Yeah. So, hey, the Golden Moon Casino text line is 601-885-3776. We'll have Roll Tide Ron Fowler, 109 The Game, Tuscaloosa, at 9:30. We're going to ask him if the Bama tears are crocodile tears or dinosaur tears. Okay. And also, are they firing up the hot board? Now, watch Bama rip off 10 wins, go 10-2, and still make the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Good hell, nothing would surprise me this day and age. But the Golden Moon Casino text line is 601-885-3776. Let's switch gears here for a minute. Jackson and I hadn't even been able to say hello or good morning because we fired in straight into Tom Luganville and Steve Robertson and Mike Detillier. We've already done over an hour in interviews today, which means Apple Podcasts and Spotify is going to be on fire in about 2 hours. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds. But I had a really good Labor Day weekend. Man, we had so much fun on Saturday. Had some friends out, binge watched football. Sunday, got on the water, got on the lake. Our friends cooked homemade pizzas. We had clean pizzas.
Nice.
They were amazing. And then we got back out yesterday. The water felt great because it's cooled off. It's really weird. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. Roll Tide Ron Fowler at 9:30 with the Bama Meltdown. All right, good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. You'll hear me say this all week, so you'll get tired of it. There is so much on the line Saturday in Starkville, Mississippi. Winnable ball game, Power 4 opponent. Even though they're overranked, they're good. Preseason rankings don't mean a damn thing. AP rankings are, y'all been hearing me say this for 15 years. They're nonsense. It's guys like me. I don't put it together. I've been offered, this, that, and the other over the years. I think it's all whatever. But you got to put, if you're going to do a ranking, you got to have somebody at 7, 11, 18, and 24. Okay? And whatever. Now, what Arizona State did last year was unbelievable. And Scadaboo, who's now gone, had a great year, running back. Sam Levitt, their quarterback's just a playmaker. And Jordan Tyson is supposed to be the third wide receiver taken in the draft. And y'all know about the Ohio State and Alabama guy because people talk about him every day on ESPN. And Jordan Tyson is listed time and time again as the third guy as far as wide receivers. And he's going to make a lot of money on Sundays. But Mississippi State invested millions of dollars in this roster, and it looks better. I don't know how, I think everybody, as I watched college football over the weekend, my thoughts were, heck yeah, it's hard to get your offensive line ready to go week one. So whether it's Levy or Kiffin or even DeBoer or whoever, and many others, I'm talking about outside the SEC as I was watching ball. That's a tough position to coach, toughest position to coach, arguably, that and quarterback and corners. And we'll see. We'll see if you can start to gel and find your way because you're adding so many new pieces. June 1, this day and age. So it's not easy. It's hard. It's difficult. Now, 14 penalties, 119 yards on Saturday against Southern Miss. You're obviously going to have to cut that down. One thing about Shapen, I could be critical because, I need a little more spark and playmaking ability. However, man, when you're making some good plays and every time you've got a flag on the field, you can't get into any rhythm or tempo, and coaches listening right now know a quarterback wants rhythm and tempo.
Yeah.
And every time you thought you're really going to put the hammer down, flag, you'd make a good play, flag, or you were going and then boom, you're starting off behind the chains. So you got to clean that up. And so does Arizona State.
That's right.
Arizona State, they had penalty after penalty on Saturday night against Northern Arizona. There were too many penalties over the weekend. I think it's a combination of new players and for whatever reason, officiating crews this day and age are flag happy. Look, I could argue that Mississippi State's tackle was lining up just like a large percentage of people throughout the weekend. And that guy down in Hattiesburg was determined to throw a damn flag on the offensive line and alignment. Okay? But every officiating crew is different. Some, too many are flag happy. Some are not. I don't even know who you're pulling this weekend. It's going to be a Big 12 when you go on the road. Like last year when you were in Tempe, that was an SEC crew. You're going to get a Big 12 crew. That's how it's gone, so I don't see why it'd be different. But you're going to get a Big 12 crew for Saturday. But you need 55,000, even with losing last year. Leach died. You were 19th in the country. You won 9 games. You won not just 4 SEC games. You won your Power 4 game against Arizona, who against a quarterback that was an absolute baller.
Right.
And I loved watching him play. Hate how his career ended, but man, he could do it. But you need to go and support them and get loud. It's 6:30 and the weather looks great for this time of year. Nice day on campus, tailgate for a minute or two. Or hit, since it's late, you can go to Two Brothers or Older Brother, or Taste, or any number of places for lunch. They are doing a little tailgate in the mill,
Really?
which I think, this could have some legs. So the mill is newly renovated. It's beautiful. It's right by the Marriott. Unbelievable building, historic. I've been in there for different meetings. They got conferences, and like Make-A-Wish throws a huge fundraiser there where they raised an enormous amount of money. And so it's great for, like I mentioned earlier, the engineering symposiums and conferences and different things, architecture and stuff that are going on. But they're doing a tailgate there. And so it gets you out of the weather, which I think, hey, you need to try some things. And also, the mill is right by the stadium. So you're not far off. You literally cross the street, you're in the junction, and you're a football field away from Davis Wade. So I think they're going to do that for 4 games.
Nice.
And I'll be, they're going to have TVs, food, ball. I think they're going to have beverages, the whole thing. So for someone who wants to walk from the Cotton District, the mill's right there, and that's where you're lucky and everything's connected. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it could be a cool deal. I don't know, but I say why not try that? See how that looks.
Yeah, might as well.
And I think that could be a good idea. Yeah. So
how many people you think can get in there?
God, the mill?
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's big.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful building that had been there for decades, and they went in and renovated it. It is amazing. It's beautiful the way they did it.
Oh yeah.
And they've got some of the business entrepreneur school stuff in there, like some of the little hub startups are in there. So it's got a cool factor for sure. And the Marriott's right there. And then you walk across the street and you're on Pratt Row going into the junction, which leads you straight to the stadium. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know enough about it yet. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I mean, I'm not going to make it there Saturday, but I don't think, because I'm retiring right now from tailgating for a minute, and then I'm going to reassess.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, Wendy and I made the run for 17 years.
Oh yeah, true.
No longer than that, and that was great. The junction popped during that time.
Boy,
it's fun. Like I've said, the advantage of the junction is it's right on top of the stadium. So you walk a few yards and you're in the stadium. Yeah. And the fact that Mississippi State's not landlocked and things are spread out, which is great now and for the future. But yeah, I think friends of ours are kind enough to invite us up into their box, and we just go 2 hours before the game and watch the games. Like Ole Miss will be on.
Right.
Ole Miss is 2:30 ABC. I know that may surprise you that an Ole Miss Kentucky game is, but you don't have the juice this week. And so Kentucky gets an ABC 2:30 game.
How about that?
Yeah. Which, hey, it's great. 2:30 ABC. Ole Miss at Kentucky. What's the line? 10.5. Rebs laying 10.5, baby. And Kentucky did play a solid team. Toledo wins a lot of games in the MAC.
Oh yeah.
Jason Campbell is Jason Candle. Jason Campbell played at Auburn. Sorry. Yeah. Jason Candle at Toledo. All right, here we go. Roll Tide, Ron Fowler. Coming up next on the Out of Bounds Show, brought to you by the Street Tacos and Wings at Two Brothers in Starkville. good.
I'll believe in Auburn and love it. War Eagle.
Woo! Good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone.
Show me the money!
And we're live in the Bank Plus studio. The show is brought to you by Juniker Jewelry Store. And if you're in the market for an engagement ring, necklace, bracelet, earrings, Juniker, right around the corner from our studio here in Madison on Highland Colony. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. You can watch the show on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports, and we welcome in Roll Tide Ryan Fowler. 109 The Game, Tuscaloosa afternoon drive. Alabama embarrassed by the Florida State Seminoles, and Bama fans are asking what in the world is wrong with this program. How shocked were you with the performance on Saturday, Ryan Fowler?
Listen, the $1 Million Band performed very, very well. You guys got it wrong, man. They went to Tallahassee. They lined up. They got the uniform all organized. Really, really looked good. I mean, the tuba players, the saxophone players, the trombones, the drums were a little bit off sync, but they'll get there. I promise you. That $1 Million Band looked really, really good.
All right. Have you fired up the hot board on your show, or what's going on?
No, I know. I'm just trying to bring some laughter into the show. I mean, listen, it's been a hard 48 hours. I mean, it's been tough. No, listen, I'm not there yet. Okay. And hey, lose to ULM, call me next Monday. We'll see. But I think when you look at this, you also have to give Alabama played an awful football game, but I also think you've got to give Gus and Florida State, Mike Norvell, some credit.
Yeah.
Listen, Gus, if anybody doesn't remember, Gus was one game away from being 500 against Nick Saban. He was 3-5 against Nick Saban. He went up against some great defensive units.
Hell yeah, he did.
And, I mean, he torched them, too, with inferior talent multiple times. And, I mean, I'd go back to an offensive coordinator when Gus, I guess, I mean, if we count those, he's got a winning record against Nick Saban. The guy's an elite play caller. He may not be a great CEO or head football coach, but when I look at Gus, I don't like the man, but I think when you look as an elite play caller, he is that. He did take advantage of Alabama. I mean, it looked like a confusion. It looked like a football team that was not engaged. As I think DeBoer said this multiple times, they played with a lot of hesitation. His offense will give you a lot of eye candy. I mean, there's a lot of movement there. That Alabama football team couldn't handle that, whatever you want to call it, test anxiety or whatever it was. But Alabama played, an awful performance. And if this is a reflection of what the season is going to be, then it's going to be a tough year. But can they fix it? Yes, I think they can. Will they go and play for a playoff spot at this point? It'd probably be penny stock, and you can sell it at the end of the year. And, it's kind of like that Bitcoin stuff everybody's going crazy about, right? If you bought it early, would you buy? I don't know. I look at this team, and I look at talent. When I start checking off the talent, there's too many people who came to Tuscaloosa and watched these practices to say that the talent's not there, because the talent is there. I mean, when you go through, they did have a major injury with Tim Keenan last Tuesday. That would have helped. He was the captain. He was your alpha on that defensive side of the football. He was not able to go. To me, that's a bigger role than we're almost like forgetting about that. And I think football is as simple as you make it, right? If you can run the football and stop the run, chances are you got a good chance of winning the football game.
Yeah.
Alabama couldn't do either. Now, I mean, guys, you guys are right there in Jackson, Mississippi. How about the name Londa Simmons? Does that ring a bell?
Yes.
Played right there, did he not?
Yeah.
He was starting in different formations.
Hartfield.
London's, yeah. So London Simmons
Number 90.
Defensive lineman, Hartfield. Yeah, number 90. Number 90. Guys, true freshman. True freshman. And if I'm trying to think if he came in as an early enrollee, I don't think he was.
Really?
So it tells,
wow.
Yeah. So I got to go back and look, but I don't think Alonzo Simmons was. But a true freshman, true freshman on that defensive front.
How does that happen?
That defense.
Because y'all have got a ton of talent. How did that happen?
Well, it's probably when you look at that defensive line, it's probably, I don't know if you want to say the weakest, but there's no depth there. I mean, there is no depth.
Yeah.
They lost a couple of guys in the portal. Jaheim Otis went to Colorado, another Mississippi guy. But no, when you look at the roster, I think they're thin at two different spots. I think defensive tackles one, and probably if you went and studied, probably running backs is another. But they're coming with running backs. I mean, they recruited A.K. Deere out of Quitman, Mississippi, so he's coming. But I think he's here. But I'm saying coming as developing. But when you look at that defensive front, it's a problem. And then when you have an injury, it becomes even a bigger problem. And so they lost that on Tuesday, even at the end of practice. So really, you have one day on Wednesday, and you have a lighter practice on Thursday to get a true freshman ready to take that big responsibility. And I'm going to be fair to the kid. He played okay.
You can't pin it. I mean, yeah, no, there's a million other things that went wrong other than Simmons from Hartfield playing day one on the line against a Florida State team that does have talent.
So much eye candy. Oh, because see, that's to me. I look back at some of those elite Nick Saban defenses going up against Gus. They had problems. He'll confuse you with that eye candy. That eye candy, because there's just so much movement. There's so many things you got to.
Yeah, I don't know why more coaches don't do it. I agree with you. Would you describe the Bama Tears as crocodile or dinosaur?
I think there's an overreaction that's a little bit fake, because it's not realistic. Because there's a lot of fans out here that are calling for DeBoer to be fired, right? Now, that's probably not the majority, but there's a few. But guys, I'm here to tell you that there's no way that happens right now. It's just from a buyout standpoint, that stuff is, I feel like I'm discussing whether I'm going to be a supermodel, and there's no chance of me ever doing that. And I just don't think right now that it's at that point. Listen, Greg Burns, if Kalen DeBoer's on the hot seat, and I'm saying he's not, but if he is, then you know who else is on the hot seat?
Your AD?
Your AD. Sure. Because if you're going to tell me that's true, then I'm going to tell you that, hey, Greg Burns, because he was hired for one reason. He was going to be the guy that was going to replace Nick Saban. He was the guy, right? But I'm going back and saying, no, I don't think any of it's true. But from a buyout standpoint, they're not going to make a decision.
Is it 70 million, 80 million? What is it, roughly?
70 million.
Okay.
70 million. But I think there's been an overreaction. Listen, Alabama got their head kicked in at Florida State. We don't know how good Florida State's going to be. Give me an unbiased opinion, Bo. Is Florida State a playoff team?
Yeah, today. After week one and the schedule that they have after crossing y'all off the list, yes. Yep. Look, Miami, Florida State, and Clemson, all three have and Clemson lost, but all three have a path with their schedules. But all right, so back to Bama. What 70 million on the buyout. You got Georgia in 3 weeks. 4 weeks, excuse me. Okay, so can DeBoer, do you think he looked lost at the press conference yesterday? Or whenever it was, Sunday, Monday, whenever it was?
The one Saturday I thought was going to be one of his most passionate press conferences. I know that's not what you're asking, but I'm going there. But I think what he did is he connected the dots that he left after the press conference, after probably watching the film, No, I don't. I've seen the video clip. In that room, I don't think he heard the question correctly. And I know this is going to really sound crazy, but I've sat up in the front row, and there's an air conditioning vent that's right above the coach. And Coach Saban used to do this. I kept thinking, Coach must be going really losing his hearing. But then as I'm listening, it's sometimes hard. Plus, now Mike Rodak asked the question correctly, but sometimes they like us radio broadcasters, we know how to hold the mic. But so that voice of you hearing him respond, I don't think he could have heard the first question. And he talked about, did we practice great last week? Is that the comment because it does, the video clip looks like he's a little bit lost on his response.
Right.
But I think if you listen, get beyond that, and the one thing that he talked about is players have got to let loose. Well, that connects the dots from what he said post-game. He said they played with a hesitation. They played trying to overthink it. And they went back and studied the way they coached, the way they implemented it, and said, look at it. Look at it. We coached you to do this. What was the issue? Well, the issue is they played with a hesitation. So I think when you look back and you connect the dots, if you only heard one of it, it kind of sounds weird. But if you hear the others, it kind of connected the dots because he talked about the hesitation, but then he followed it up and said, hey, you got to let loose, man. You got to go play. You got to go play. You got to go have fun. College football is supposed to be fun. But it connected my dots to understand what he's talking about from a hesitation. So, but I could also see where you look at that one video clip and you don't watch the other stuff and you're going, okay, yeah, man, ooh, wow. That was a weird response. But if you listen to the others, it kind of connects some of the dots. I hope that makes sense. It may not. Maybe I sound like before a little bit.
All right. So Roll Tide Ryan Fowler on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. I think people want to automatically blame the quarterback. I actually thought Ty Simpson did some good things. I just thought everything was melting down around him for both units from the jump. So I think he needs more time. How do you see it?
Yeah, I do as well. You look back at Ty Simpson. For one, what they did with those checks, they asked him to do a lot. I know they were elementary, but they did some checks with him. That tells me that they trust Ty Simpson. Because I saw more checks with him than I saw with Jalen Milroe last year. Is that fair? Absolutely. He was moving things at a rapid pace. He missed some guys. He missed a wide open progression early on. If you'll watch back the tape, I'm trying to think if it was Ron, if it was Germ Bernard. It was a miscue.
Yeah.
But I look back and I think about this. Okay, you
couldn't run the football at all.
You could not run the football, and Florida State knew that, and they were putting pressure with 4 guys.
Right.
3 and 4 guys was putting pressure. Some of that was because Ty panicked and left the pocket a little bit early. But I also look at you take a running back away. Ty Simpson was the leading running back in that game. As far as rushing. He had also more carries. Some of that was sacks, but you have no rushing attack, and then you're asking a first-year starter, first starting on the road, to go up against a secondary who doesn't believe that you can run the football. And if you do, they couldn't run block, they couldn't run the football, and so you're pretty much asking him, okay, we're going to drop all these guys in coverage, and you're going to find them. And his wide receivers, Ryan Williams, maybe. It could have been my disappointment of the entire game would be either between him or the left tackle in Caden Proctor. Because Ron Williams didn't show me anything. Like if you look at that game and you don't know anything about Ron Williams, would you say he's a potential All-American, all these preseason recognition? No, he doesn't even look like a guy that could make an impact. He looks like a guy that's fighting for his start based on that performance. But I don't think that's who Ryan's going to be. But in that performance, he looked awful.
Wow. Okay. Here's what Kirby said a couple years ago.
Five drops. 5 drops. He had 5 drops.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
5 drops.
They didn't do Ty Simpson any favors. We're visiting with Ryan Fowler, 109 The Game, Tuscaloosa. He joins us on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Bama embarrassed by Florida State week 1, and Alabama fans are asking questions. This is what Kirby says it takes to be successful.
We have a saying around our place: we eat off the floor. And if you're willing to eat off the floor, you can be special.
Are y'all willing to eat off the floor?
Ooh. What do you think? We're yeah, I don't know.
I mean, has DeBoer turned this into a soft program?
If you're willing to eat off the floor.
Yeah.
Man. I took epidemiology in college. There's a lot of things going through my head right now. No, I don't eat off the floor. I don't know if I would encourage you.
Hold on, like one of your favorite lunch spots where you've got a blue plate. Sometimes you got to get down on the floor with that pork chop and those mashed potatoes if you're committed.
Yeah, but I know, but maybe I'm just not committed enough.
Okay. Well, is DeBoer?
I don't.
Do you think this could still work?
I do.
Okay.
I do. And I think, listen, the biggest thing is, and for anybody, listen, I was raised in a mobile home, so nobody take this as an offense, because those are great places to live. I was raised in one all my life. Alabama fans, what's happened is it's kind of like a rich person moving out of the country club neighborhood and moving to the trailer park, the mobile home park. Okay. There's an adjustment for Alabama fans because they were at the pinnacle. They were living with all the celebrities up in the big, championships and all of that. And then they have to go to the trailer park. And the first question they ask is, where's the hot tub? Where's the indoor pool? Well, we don't have one of those. Wait, where's the golf course? Don't have one of those either. It's an adjustment that Alabama fans are just not, like, they're having a harder time. They're not going to go back to back. They're not going to go. Nobody is.
No, it's over.
Kirby Smart said it 2 years ago at Sandestin. Undefeated seasons are a thing of the past. And when he said it, I went, but it was a wake-up call. And do you know who else thought it?
Nick Saban.
Lou Saban. And his ego would not allow him to stay and take this type of college football because he was so accustomed to winning. That's the biggest problem with Alabama fans is you can't convince them because everybody's done it. They did it in the 60s. They did it in the 70s. They did it, well, they won in 92, but then they did it with Nick Saban. And so their recalibration of trying to adjust to the new college football,
they can't do it. All right, so
and I've tried it. I'm losing battle, man. I'm climbing Mount Everest in flip flops. It just doesn't work. But I'm gonna
did you have
trying.
your show yesterday?
Oh yeah. It was, yeah.
Oh man, I bet. Good grief! Walmart sales are down. I mean, I don't know what the hell y'all are going to do. But here's what I was thinking. Post Bear Bryant, you've had two coaches that have been able to handle the enormity of the job, as you know, Gene Stallings and Nick Saban. And you've had a bunch that have not. Perkins, Curry, DeBose, Fran, Shula, hell, even Mike, whatever his name was that lasted a few months. I mean, it's a lot, as you know, Ron Fowler. I mean, Fran won 10 games, and his wife was like, we have to get out of here. These people are crazy. And he took the A&M job. And that was under a cloud of probation in which he had done a hell of a job, as you know. So, I don't know. But I know y'all aren't going to wait around long. So, But hold on. I want to. How much time do we have here? You got to go to break. I got 3 minutes.
Okay, but do you agree with me? Like Greg Byrne has got to make sure that Kalen DeBoer, regardless NIL, revenue sharing, all these different things, he's got to give him the resources. And I'm not saying he hasn't given him the resources, because I just feel that if DeBoer is not the guy, and I don't feel that he is, okay, so don't cut this up. Don't get your producer to cut it up and twist my words, okay, because I know we radio guys, I do it too. So if you put this in there, put this. I don't believe what I'm about to say, But if Kalen DeBoer is on the hot seat, Greg Byrne's on the hot seat too. So Greg Byrne, I think he knows. He's got to make sure resources are there, whether it's NIL, whether it's borrowing from the softball to give to football. Because I think Alabama, when they kept going to Washington, D.C. to campaign for competitive imbalance and Nick Saban and Greg Byrne, yes, they're going up there on behalf of college football, but I think they're also going up there on behalf of themselves and the smaller schools, the schools that are in your state that don't have a ton of resources. Alabama is not a rich school. I don't think they're a poor school. They've got money, but they don't have the money that it takes to compete at the top when we talk about recruiting. Texas, Oregon, Ohio
I think
State.
you do. I mean, do you have, like, if you just measured net worth to net worth of the two fan bases, yes, Texas would have a greater net worth, but you've got more than enough money to compete for playoff appearances. And then it's kind of
I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that there's players that are getting opportunities with cash. I mean, like Texas Tech money's out here, Texas money. I mean, guys, there's some money throwing out. I don't know where Ole Miss and Mississippi State, but it's hard to compete right now. Without, I don't know what Alabama's spending is, but I bet you it's half of what Texas spent on their roster. I bet it's half of what Ohio State spent on their roster.
I don't think it's that low. I think maybe they spent, a couple of million more. I don't know. Most of the on three numbers are bogus, but okay. Well, I mean, you're going to take it out on La Monroe this weekend, and then you get Wisconsin.
But this does nothing. I mean, you could go 75-0. La Monroe could get 5 yards rushing. You could have 350 rushing, 350 passing. It doesn't do any good. Okay?
Right.
It does in player development. You beat Wisconsin. This noise will not quieten down until after the bye week, and
at
you're
Georgia.
able to go and show. Yes. So all this stuff's going to be there for 3 weeks. I mean,
Are you
it's not
going to that game?
anywhere.
Are you going to Georgia?
No. I'm I'm just a lazy old media guy that just likes covering the home games. I was saving my money for the playoffs. I guess I'll have
you'll have a bigger Christmas. Your kids will have more presents. All right, buddy. We'll have to do this again soon. Roll Tide. See ya.
Roll Tide.
All right. Ron Fowler, 109 the game, Tuscaloosa. They're in disarray. And the meltdown, I agree with that. The meltdown will continue until they play in Athens in 4 weeks at Georgia. Enjoy your day. Lunch today, Martin's in Livingston. Ribs, the blue plate. They're delicious. See you tomorrow.